Today, having been told about somewhat local thrift stores, I am heading to Melbourne's eastern suburbs, where I'm going to try and go to some places that are a little bit more further out. In particular, I'm going to head towards Emerald and Cockatoo. There are quite a few country op shops, thrift stores out that way. One of the things I really like about small town thrift stores is that both the quality and the type of things that are likely to be there are so much more random than what you might find in an inner city store. It's a lot less organized in general, and you tend to be able to find interesting things. On top of that, there's a couple of markets out that way that I'd like to check out. I was recommended the Cockatoo Twilight Market, which is having its 10-year anniversary. So we're gonna go to that as well. I haven't even really researched how long it will take me to get to these places, so I don't really know what to expect or what I'm doing, but I'm sure I'm gonna have a great time regardless.
It turns out it's approximately a 45-minute drive to get from where I'm located into the hills around Olinda. And there's something about driving into the hills that just feels great. The air slowly gets colder, the roads twist and turn, and obviously a lot of other people had a similar idea. As there were so many cyclists, I assumed that there was some kind of road race going on. No, there were no signs at any point for there being an event of some kind. I guess people just enjoy getting out into nature. There's a moment that I didn't capture. I wasn't quite fast enough on pressing record, where city buildings just turned into towering trees. It's kind of a slow shift from the Melbourne hustle into something a little quieter and more peaceful. And honestly, I needed it. It was a great way to start the day. And speaking of starting the day, I'm going to start the day with some breakfast. Olinda as a town has classic mountain village charm. It has cute cafes and boutique shops and that crisp, fresh air that makes you feel like you're miles away from anything. In saying that, I was mostly interested in the cafe part, because I didn't want to start what was potentially going to turn into a treasure hunt on an empty stomach. The Olinda Cafe is highly rated and reasonably priced, but more important than the all-day menu, to me at least, was the last thing on the list. Oh yes.
Oh yeah, definitely the pancakes. Hot. Hot, 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 hot.
Suitably fed, you can go out the back door of the Olinda Cafe and to the right, where you will find Mountains of Sweets. Mountains of Sweets is an iconic, old-style lolly shop that sells lollies from all around the world, and I wasn't going to come all the way and not stop in and at least take a look. As I said, they're packed with lollies from all over the world. There's British chocolates, American candy bars, Dutch licorice. If there's something you liked as a kid or something weird you've not tried before, chances are you'll find it here. And once again, I find myself a little overwhelmed. Do I just go classic and get some sherbet bombs, or do I risk it all on something that's just mystery flavoured that I have no idea what it is whatsoever? Regardless, I'm pretty certain the Arizona Iced Tea CEO would be unhappy with that price. Youch! Maybe I'll just embrace chaos and buy way too much. Either way, this place is dangerous. Especially if you happen to be a camel.
Choco banana? Oh, chocolate banana. Right.
Just out the door and to the side is eclectic memorabilia, which I noticed was open and it looked like my kind of thing. Heading inside, it was packed to the rafters with interesting items. Everywhere you look in these shops, you can see something that's curious or odd or cute or something that I just wanted to touch and feel.
I need them. I shouldn't, but I want them.
Besides the impressive collection of collectibles, there was also a lot of homewares, bowls, cups, plates, that sort of thing, but also a lot of vintage Tupperware, which I've been led to believe is quite collectible these days, because it tends to command quite a price anywhere I go to look. There was also these nesting swan ducks things. They're so derpy.
Not bad, but I think my first find was better. Although, pinguinos. Huh. I see a cutie. egg. Egg holder. For hold egg. It's just a friend. There's at least 3 things that I stopped myself from buying. I really want that salt and pepper shaker. They're just little guys. They're just cute little guys. But what am I gonna do with 2 duck salt and pepper shakers? Apart from love them and cherish them and tuck them into bed at night. Maybe fill them with something that's not salt and pepper. Glitter, maybe. Imagine you come around to my house for dinner and I'm like, here's the salt and pepper shaker. And you shake it over your food and it's edible glitter. Oh yeah, now that's a power move. That's a power move. Right? I need to go back and get those, hang on.
A 5-minute trip down the road took me to my first market stop of the day, the Callista Market. The Callista Market has been in operation since 1977, starting out as a handful of local stalls and has turned into a staple of the Hills District. It has a long history as a hub for artists and nature lovers, and you can feel the influence here. A lot of what you find isn't mass-produced, certainly isn't items like you're seeing right now. It's quite frequently handmade, grown or crafted by someone who lives in the area. I came across handmade jewellery, fresh honey, baskets of organic vegetables, and there's a bit of everything here. Stuff that might be from local farms and homemade jams and preserves, handcrafted candles and pottery and art, and yes, the occasional vintage finds. I didn't really come here with a plan and just intended to wander, and I figured I'd leave with something unexpected. Hidden towards the back was an old hall which had boutique stalls inside it, but most importantly, they had these cupcakes, which not only looked great, but they were delicious. If you end up at the Callista Market, make sure you check out the boutique hall up the back.
It is fascinating to me because having been to many markets around the country, the thing that you come to notice is that there is always certain stalls of certain kinds everywhere. For example, there is the person selling honey, there's someone that's selling leather goods, there's someone that is selling hand-carved wood. And it is, yes Bert, it is very comforting in a way to see that no matter where you go, that the market culture around Australia as a whole stays more or less the same. It's kind of comforting in the same way that watching the same movie over and over again is comforting, because you know what to expect, and that's nice. The next stop I have, I think, should be an op shop, hopefully a slightly bigger one, but if not, hopefully it's just weird as hell.
The Belgrave op shop is only a short trip away from Callista, all of 5 minutes, and heading on in, I could tell immediately this was exactly what I was looking for. It is a small, country op shop that is clearly supplied by locals for locals, raising money for locals. This tripod looked really convincing until I grabbed it and realised it was entirely made out of plastic and probably a children's toy. The racks here were an absolute lucky dip, and I found one of the coolest shirts that I'll never be able to wear. Unfortunately, an extra small would only fit probably half of my torso. In the moment, I was not pleased about that at all. However, my pick from the men's section is an industry jacket, which for $30 is pretty much the best bargain you're going to get. It looked new. And one of these jackets normally retails for $100, $120 odd off the rack at the store. Putting some of my vintage clothing knowledge to use is this La Dame Gold, an Australian-made wool cardigan. These were made in the 1990s, and on Etsy they would sell for approximately $100 to $150, depending on their overall quality.
I love small country op shops like that because you actually find interesting stuff, far more interesting than what you'll find in any city op shop. Generally speaking, because the variety that you find is just different because people throw things away at different rates. So you're far more likely to find older things, vintage items out here. I say out here. It's Belgrave. And I'm still not familiar enough with Melbourne and surrounding suburbs and surrounding towns to know for sure if this is considered out there or not. I'll ask some questions. I'll do my research. I'll get you an answer.
This sign was out further down the road, but there was no actual shop signage. But as I entered, I overheard the staff telling another customer that there was a reading room downstairs, and I'm always one to have a peek at vintage books. This very much felt like wandering through someone's house and someone's library, but I was able to find a sign that told me I had the pleasure of being in Carlotta's treasure shop. Besides the impressive selection of books, both fiction and non-fiction, there were a lot of craft supplies here. There was something I noticed a little while ago, which was that craft supplies at a reasonable cost are few and far between these days, so it's always good to see options out there for the thrifty crafter. That lamp, by the way, incredibly heavy.
Oh my.
Technically, I don't even really know where I am. I'm just going to ignore the fact that it says Belgrave. Now, what I did discover is that this is the last train stop, effectively. So when I said previously about this being like out there, yeah, this is getting to that point. It's getting to the point where we're starting to get into the country proper. It's cool. It means I've basically explored as far as I can along the train route. Yes, I'm driving. I could go further. Don't really know if I'm going to do that. Although I would like to go to Emerald, because I've heard good things about Emerald.
I'll give him 11 minutes.
I'm now at Emerald. Emerald is a town to the east of Melbourne, and it is known for a few things. It is known for being near Emerald Lake, which apparently is gorgeous. It's also known for its mushroom picking, which I didn't know. Apparently they've got chanterelles here in the forest and people go and pick them all different times of the year. But it is also known for something that is not my particular flavour of autism, but and that is called Puffing Billy, which is a local heritage steam engine. Very cool. Now to the Emerald Op Shop. I think it's just called the Emerald Op Shop. I'll correct it if that's wrong. Fernley Shop of Opportunities. Okay, that's fine. Oh, hell yeah. I can throw these in the soup. This is so cool. This reminds me of my grandparents' house, like the collection of old books. It's so cool. Oh, wait. I found it, finally. This is where it is. It's been here the whole time. The literature.
The Fernley Shop of Opportunities also had a significant amount of homewares, including some things that I know are pretty collectible, like Royal Doulton and other china.
I've been here all of 10 minutes, and I can definitely say if you find yourself in Emerald, come to this op shop. It's fantastic.
If you sew or knit or in any way are involved in physical art, this is a fantastic place for very reasonably priced supplies.
I love places like this because you just never know what you're going to find. It could be anything. It could be a brand new car. It could be a Delta Kinetic Wireless Doorbell. $12. Come to Emerald, it could be yours. I guess. What?
Approximately an hour's walk or a short car ride away from Emerald is the Puffing Billy Lakeside Visitor Centre, which, I must admit, initially confused me. We'll get to why in a second.
That's really cute. Maybe it's just me and maybe it's my expectations of a visitor centre or a tourist centre. But I feel like as far as tourist centre goes, a visitor centre goes, I haven't really been given any information about what I'm experiencing here. You kind of would have to look it up. I'm hoping there's a little bit more.
10 seconds later.
Oh, he says, having run his mouth a little bit too much.
Turns out if you enter from the other entrance, you get to go through what is effectively a small museum. What I learned is that Puffing Billy Railway in Victoria opened in 1900. And it was to serve the local community. Closed in 1954 after a landslide, but it was preserved and the steam railway became a major tourist attraction. It ran from Upper Ferntree Gully through to Gembrook and carried everything from passenger to timber to livestock and plants. They also took mail, parcels and newspapers. According to some of the posters here, it has been maintained almost entirely by volunteers ever since.
Anything from the trolley dares?
The park outside is gorgeous and it is overflowing with native birds. There are picnic areas and a chlorinated pool. It would be a lovely place to take the family for the weekend.
Yes, I'm following you. Yes. Yes. Duckies! I do not desire to interact with you. Everything is fine. Emerald Lake is quite picturesque. It's very well developed compared to any lakes that I'm used to going to. It seems that like the council has put a lot of effort into developing it and providing resources for the local community and for tourism too. I'm also super stoked with the amount of bird life that's here. There are some cool birds. There's a purple swamp hen, pictured here, and this duck. I don't know what this duck is, but I like him.
The developed area here is large, even though the lake itself is surprisingly moderately sized. From here though, I was to head off towards Cockatoo.
And I am now at the Cockatoo Market. This is the 10th year anniversary of the Cockatoo Market. I have been to 0 years of the Cockatoo Market previously, so I know nothing about what to expect, what's here, but what I can hear already is the sound of music, and there are quite a number of stalls, so let's see what we can find.
I was first greeted by chickens, always a good start at a country market, and once again there were a variety of stalls. The Cockatoo Market is held on the first Saturday of every month except January. It's a smaller, community-driven market, and it once again really focuses on local makers and small businesses. The focus seems to be on handmade crafts and fresh produce and some second-hand goods. Even though this was the 10th anniversary, it's not as big or as busy as I might have expected. The atmosphere was very laid back and it felt very personal. The store holders really wanted to talk to customers and people wandering around, which was fantastic. It's always good to see small business owners really wanting to talk about the thing that they're passionate about, which hopefully is the thing that they're producing. I did a small tasting at Loaded Barrel Distillery's stall, and I was blown away, not just by the quality of their product, but also by how open they were to talking about it and their process, which is something that is honestly rare to see in the distillation and alcohol industry. If you're planning a trip to the area, in particular to probably see Puffing Billy, try and time it for the Saturday, so that way you can get into the Cockatoo Market and see what you can see. Speaking of seeing what you can see, the person running the Gemstone Garden stall was lovely and was more than happy to talk about all of their product, where it comes from, how it's tumbled. It's good to see a gemstone stall where things aren't just purchased online and then resold at a markup. It's good to see that they're doing things themselves. Feels nice.
Just had an awesome chat with the guys at Loaded Barrel Distillery. I'm going to be heading there on a bit of a distillery tour in the next couple of weeks, and I'm looking forward to putting together something covering off local distilleries. It's great to see that the industry in terms of distillation whiskies in Victoria is increasing, especially coming from a Tasmania background where there are so many distilleries compared to here. It's good to see the growth in environments where there is the right weather to produce the right spirits. Great to see, love it, love local produce.
With the day starting to get late, I jumped back in the car and went back down those same twisty roads, heading back towards Melbourne proper.
As far as days go, that was great. I got to see a lot of country, I got to see a lot of different things. I was absolutely right about the thrift store situation, in that the further out you go, like I say, the stranger it kind of gets, which is good, which is a good thing. If you want small collectibles, I think heading further out of the city is a good idea. Also, meeting the people from that distillery was great, and I have an idea for a video in the future now. I'd like to go to many of the new distilleries that Victoria has on offer, because it turns out the Victorian distillery industry is a little less developed than the Tasmanian one. That means you get all of these interesting new businesses coming along. And a little bit of research has shown that the Victorian government is offering grants for businesses that are establishing themselves in the distillery industry. So even government is recognising that there's money to be made here and that there are things that can be done. So in a couple of weeks, depending on me finding someone who's willing to drive me while I try all these delicious whiskies, we'll do a distillery tour together, or several. I feel like getting a couple done in a weekend would be great. Not too many though, I'll just be sliding along the floor. Just a lovely weekend, great time. In any case, thanks for joining me, and I'll see you then. Goodbye.